I'll just give a quick intro about you so that the participants are also aware of this and they can actually interact with you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Welcome to the first session of author interaction series. Okay. So today we have Mohanavel along with us who's gonna conduct the session today. So he's actually a data scientist. Okay. So whose skills are Python, scikit-learn, TensorFlow. So these are some of the day in day out skills which he used to work, and he's part of an company called Global Mantra Innovations, where he works as a lead data scientist. Okay, so he closely worked in this field with various technologies and also technologists. So he's aware of the market need and aware of the new upcoming things in this particular segment and domain. Okay, he's been in this domain since since for the last 4 years, correct, Mohan?
Yeah, well, I've been
Right.
in this field for nearly 4.5 years.
Okay, so that makes him a right person for you guys to interact and clear your doubts. Okay, and among you guys, how many of you are experienced professionals in Python? Shashank, Hitesh, Jnanamuri, or Ayapasami Kumar? Are you guys are seasoned Python programmers or beginners?
No, I worked in Python in ML domain itself.
Okay, cool.
New to Python, sir.
Okay, okay,
Absolutely new to Python.
okay. Yeah, you told Hitesh. How about
Yeah.
Ayapasami Kumar?
I have no experience, sir.
Okay,
I'm a
okay,
fresher.
okay, okay, guys. So the point is, you all have a common goal of mastering in Python, right? So keeping yourself equipped with Python skills is the goal of this session. Okay, that is why you started engaging with GUVI. That is how you started enrolling in the courses. So we want to make this as valuable to you so that you can actually go and get yourself a Python expert or become a Python expert. Okay, so we'll start with this. Mohan will actually this is kind of a doubt clarifying session. That what we planned. Okay, so you guys can, I presume that you would have actually come up with a question. If you have, if you are ready, you can start with your questions. Okay, or once these queries are solved, right? So because since we have limited audiences, there might not be too much queries, or if you have queries, he'd be happy to answer. Once the queries are solved, he will actually walk through a project in Python. Okay, he will walk through the code in Python, so you'll be able to see how things are written and what is the functionality that it actually achieves. Okay, so that is the agenda, and that is how we are going to take this today. So it's up to you guys and Mohan now. You guys can start with either questions or doubts if you have any.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, hi guys, how is the day going? So, so I just want this session to be interactive, so you can be open. It's like this is not a classroom, so we can be open, right?
Yeah,
Can I
Mohan.
get this for this?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, guys. So be free, and whatever the questions maybe, it may not be like Python. If you want to know something about how ML things, how the career is in ML or deep learning, or whatever the questions that you can, because I've been working with deep learning, computer vision, and all those sorts of things now. So I know I've been working as a data scientist, so I know ML. So if you have any kind of questions, maybe a career question or a technical question, so I think I'd be able to help you out, right? So
Yeah, sure.
maybe even a beginner question. So what is, like, how to start programming or something like that?
So my question is like, what are generators in Python? Generators and yield.
So yeah, so basically, so there is a lighting issue. Yeah, fine. So you are able to see me, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, Shashank. So Python generators is like basically it is used when you are handling a large amount of data. So it is basically with the help of yield variable. So why we use Python generators is to basically you have large chunks of data, let it be like 10,000s and thousands of data, and you want to process it step by step, right? So maybe when I used Python generators, it is basically I'll use Keras. So Keras is a deep learning API. I hope you said that you are working towards ML and all those stuff, right? So I assume that you know a little bit of Keras, or you know about Keras, right?
Your PyTorch I was working.
Yeah, PyTorch. So I don't use PyTorch, but I know like it is similar to TensorFlow, right?
Yeah,
So Keras is a wrapper around TensorFlow basically. So when we use Keras, the purpose of using generators is you have a bunch of images. Let it be like for a classification task. So you have a bunch of cats and dogs images, but you have it in 10,000s and 20,000 images that you are facing at the simultaneously. You are going to read it, and you are going to do some processing over it, and you are going to do some predictions over it, right? Whether it's a cat or a dog. So in that case, so being images are like 100 into 100 pixels or something like that, you cannot load everything into the memory at the simultaneously, right? So it will be very large to fit into your computer memory. Maybe your RAM size will be like too low, right? So to fit all those 10,000 or 20,000 or million images. So that is why Python generators are used basically. So to get those things step by step, for example, if you limit the batch size to 100 or something like that, it will be used like that.
yeah, got it.
Yeah, any more questions like in basic Python or something like that?
Can you give
Hello, Shashank. I'm not able to hear your audio. Is that an issue from my side or?
So about hash map and hash map table. Hello, sir.
Yeah. Ayapasami, Sai Kumar.
About hash map and hash map table. Hash map
So
and hash map table.
So that's like more of a data structure. So why we use like it's basically based on the scenarios that you use hash table. So which is mostly used in OS based functions. So where you use preemptiveness as the key measure and all the sort of stuff. But hash map, it's kind of like you have random allocation, like you have a key, so it's basically you understand dictionaries, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
it's
sir.
more of like that. So we use hash maps.
Okay. Okay.
Any more questions?
So Python 2 and Python 3, we have still we are using, right, sir? Python 2 is still we are using. So
Yeah.
which is better? So for so many members are using Python 2
Yeah.
than Python 3.
Yeah, so you're basically asking whether you should go for Python 2 or Python 3.
Yes,
Basically,
sir.
I just want you to get informed that Python, the support from the Python Foundation, like for the supporting the programming language ends in this year, like 2020. By 2020, all the support in the sense you may have some few bugs or memory leaks or something like that in the language, right? When you use other data structures, or when you do programming, there may be some issues, some bugs or something like that, or some new improvements has to be added to that particular programming language. But what happened is they stopped the basically the support of that particular programming language, in this case in just for Python 2, not for Python 3. So Python 3 is the latest version that we can use, and Python 2, since the lack of support is a very big question when it comes to your doing your programs for production. For example, if you are doing it for an organization, then there should be a complete support for some years, right? So that is where you can get assured of things like new improvements that come in. You can actually implement that in your application, and you can increase the speed, or you can reduce some bugs in your code. So due to the lack of support, so it is not obviously a good reason to go for Python 2. But in case of Python 3, there is a good support, and you have all the newcomers, they learn Python 3 directly. They don't go for Python 2 at all. So all the newcomers, or even the college syllabus and everything, so they are being revision to Python 3, right? So there is no I think there is no particular reason to go for Python 2. So unless you have already you have built an application in a production scale that you want to support, so even that would be risky to handle. So that is what I am saying.
What is the use of that non-local keyword?
Non-local, you mean global variable, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't know how to use it. Like, why? What is this? Why that variable came into use so much?
Yeah, yeah, I'll give you a small example. For example, you are having whether you want to find whether a number is a prime number or not, or in those cases, so you are writing a for loop just below it, right? So you declare a variable typically above that for loop. So whatever the variable that you declare within that particular scope of the for loop is called a local variable, and whatever that is above, that is called a non-local, that is called global variable, right? So in that case, if you want to maintain some status or flag, whether this is getting divided by any number, typically, like if the number is getting divided by any number with less than that, then it is called not a prime number, right? So for example, 2 or 3 or 5 or something like that, if it's getting divided by some number below that, it is not a prime number. So how do you maintain that status, whether this is a prime number or not, right? So you can keep a flag, like prime flag or not prime flag, just above that function, which is global, like which is not local to that function, because you are not declaring that variable within that function, right? So you can make use of that scope out of scope variables to maintain flags within that. So this in case can happen to functions, or you can maintain some statuses for the whole class or something like that. You can make use of it. So for example, you can declare something that is too global for the whole application. For example, you can place some restrictions in the code, whether the size of the image that you are importing, that should not go more than 256 KB or something like that. So if you want to keep that kind of flag for the whole architecture that you're building over, then you can make use of the global variables.
Okay.
Yes.
So the memory is managed in Python.
So it is basically like we were talking around this prime number function, right? So as soon as the this thing, it's automatically the garbage is something that a variable is if the for example, so leave it. I was thinking about multiple things. I was thinking about basically multiple examples. So I'll give you this same example as we use in prime numbers. So whatever the variables that you declare within that function, that when the scope is over, for example, this is a for loop case, right? In that, if if that for loop is over, the execution of that for loop is over, then that particular variable that we declared within that scope will be garbage collected. So that memory will be freed automatically by the Python engine. So this is how, this is basically like automatic garbage collection. So that is what we use in Python. That is how it is being managed.
How does iterators behave? Iterators in Python?
So iterators are like, so you cannot like always use range, length, and all those stuff you will use, right? When it comes to a list or something, you'll use the length, or some other variables. But you, if you want to write your flags within that, for example, you are having a pandas class or something like that, where we use, so you can simply use df.apply, which is a data frame that so since I think this won't be that much relevant for other people, because you're asking a typical question that an experienced person will ask, right? So this won't be like very much useful for them, but still I try to explain that. So as you already asked, like generator functions. So before that, when you iterate something, like even within that generated function, we use iterators. For example, we use let me pull an example. Like, so rather than using a range or length or something like that, you can write a separate iterator function which takes care of some like flags. So based on checking that, for example, in pandas and all, they would have written iterated function. I am basically talking about how pandas was made. Like they use when you push, when you select a column and say whether this is false, or you should return only the rows where this variable is, this column is false, right? So in that particular case, they would have written an iterative function which takes care of that, which gets a parameter, basically whatever the number of columns that you're specifying, it will take care of that, and it will state the check the status of that particular column, and it will return the rows, right? It's basically a custom function that you're writing to iterate some data frame or something like that.
Yeah, got it. There is one question in the chat, I think. Can you tell something about PP?
Okay, pip8 is a standard, basically. So it's a Python standard that they have announced. For example, you have indentation, leaving spaces, and so syntax, right? So there are some rules that you have in syntax. A variable should start with a letter or something like that. You should not start with a symbol like hash and or something like that. So these are strict modulations within a language which will will be thrown as Python indentation error or something like that, right? So, but there are some specific rules, or this is not a strict rule, but it will be good to understand. So, if you are writing a if block or something, you can use colon at the same line. You can specify whatever that you want to do in a single line, right? Just after that colon. So, if you are using a if or something like that, right? So, but it won't be pleasing to see it and check the code, right? If you're going through like 1,000 lines of code, it will be terrific if you look at the sides, scroll a little bit on the code editor horizontally and check what is in the code, right? So this is all about the how you should code, so that the readability of the code is increased. So that is how you arrange your code in a specific manner. So if you go to like, I think my screen is shared or not.
The video is being seen.
Eight standards. So you have this style guide. So this is not about something that is syntactical. So this won't obviously throw any errors, basically. So add 4 spaces on. So these kind of, for example, if you're writing a function or you're writing a function or something like that, you should leave a line or something like that. So this is kind of a more kind of a prescription that they give for increasing your how readable your code is. So this is to improve that. Yeah, thanks, Pragya.
So what are the questions are supposed to be on Lambda function, sir? Like in Python interviews?
So I didn't get you. I got you're talking about Lambda function, but I didn't get the question fully. Can you please repeat?
So about Lambda function, what are the questions asked in the interview?
So questions asked in the interview is like basically what is a Lambda function. So you can answer it like within a single line. You can, for example, you're writing a function for adding 3 numbers. So whatever the number that the parameters are coming in, you're going to write a Lambda function which is going to return the sum of all those 3 numbers, for example. So you can give them this kind of an example, and if you write a code, then that will be like simple for the it is basically for checking your understanding, right? So why you are using Lambda. So in this case, we might write a separate function, but it is not of much use because you are doing a simple function which could be done in a single line, but you are going to use that same formula again and again. So for that, for basically, what is a function? So function is something you wrap some lines of code within that, and you package it. It's a package, right? For example, if you're using a function, it's a package which could be used anywhere else in multiple parts of your code. For example, in a billing application or something like that, you would use, for example, even in e-commerce or somewhere like that, you will use the same function over and over again in all different places. In e-commerce, if you add something to your cart, in your cart there will be, for example, you add 2 items in your cart, the total will be showed right there in your cart. And when you are buying it, again all the items will be validated, and there will be some functions to apply code and all those stuff. Then when you check out, then actually based on the card or something that you insert in Flipkart or something, after you enter the CCV or card number, there will be some discounts like 10% or something like that. Those will be applied. Then again this total will be recalculated. They are using the same total function that they show in the card, and when you click buy now and go to some other parts of the code or some other modules of the code, they will be reusing it. So the reusability is the main thing. So Lambda is a shorthand for it. So Lambda is simply a shorthand method to declare smaller functions.
Difference between modules and packages?
So modules are like functions, like you have different modules within a package, right? So you could have a package for handling, like I said, billing, and you could have another module for example, the UI. So whatever the user interface that you are showing to the user, and you can have something like that. Based on the functionality, you can add different set of modules, and you wrap it up as a single package for your clients to use. For example, if you're building a chatbot project, so there could be several modules like AS or automatic speech conversion, which could be kept in a module, and you have some other functionality, like you build a machine learning model to understand what are all the training or something like that. You have different set of models within that, so you can give it as an SDK to your to the company that is going to consume your chatbot. So it's a B2B, basically. You are selling your chatbot to some other company, they use it for their consumers. So obviously they have the purpose, they have some more customization that they can use on your chatbot, and they can show it up for their customers, right? So they may add their own data and train. In those cases, they'll add different set of modules within a package.
So counter and dictionary behave both the same way, right?
Counter?
Counters are there in Python. Collections dot from collections.
From collections, counters I've
Import
never used, basically. I'm
count
sorry.
from collections import counter. Okay.
Okay, let me see what is that. Because I basically use pandas. You have pandas or something like that.
Yeah.
You use pandas in your data. So I think that mostly negates whatever the collection that you're using. Correct? Am I right? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
there is a counter from collection package, which behaves like a dictionary in Python. You can collections dot counter.
okay, you know something about it.
Yeah, no, I wanted to know like what is the difference between dictionary and this Python counter. Yeah, see collections dot counter, the counters in Python.
Container that stores elements as dictionary keys and. So okay. I've never seen even a part of code that I handle large kind of code bases, but I've never seen counter being used.
Yeah, it behaves like a dictionary only. Like if the items are repeated, it will increase the frequency of it. Like in this example, we can see C is repeating 6 times and B 0 times. Same. Like if you take counter there, A is occurring 3 times, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, so what is the difference between dictionary and this? In dictionary also we can do the same thing. Key value pair is this, but why counters
Yeah,
here?
I don't see a good example here also. So I
Okay.
couldn't find. Maybe in the next session or something like that, I'll go through it and explain it for you. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Uh, so this dictionary is unordered or ordered in Python.
So it's not ordered. It's all based on keys and values, right?
So
So
it's
it's not ordered.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
So something in collections, I think I hope sorted dict or something like that is there. And of
Yeah.
course, you can use pandas. So just get through. So even beginners, you guys just search for pandas. Pandas is a very great tool. Whether you're using it for machine learning or not, it has whole lot of functions. You don't even have to know collections for application usage. For interviews and all, maybe people will ask you about collections and whatever those things are within that. Maybe data structures or something like that. But the pandas is a great utility. For example, sorting, like picking out some rows which has some values. So it has a great functionality. You can apply something to the whole pandas. I mean the data frame, which is a data frame is kind of a table that you manage in table. Within the programming language, in memory, it handles the table basically. So pandas is a great utility. Just go through it. So you won't turn around like coding a lot of heavier stuff on your own. So you can like basically make use of pandas.
X range is I think in Python too, right? Difference between range and X range.
This range is basically a deprecated one.
Yeah.
Any more basic questions? I didn't hear anything from the beginners actually. So some people who are somewhat experienced, they are asking their questions, but it won't make any sense for those beginners. So let's give them some time, like
Sir,
Hitesh.
there is a
So
question
if
in
you
chat
can,
box.
so how to, uh, yeah. What did he ask about chatbots?
What is the difference between range and X range?
So range and X-range, so that is what that was answered already. Like I think so. X-range is the function that we use in Python 2. So in Python 3, there's no X-range anymore. For example, I'll explain like what is a range function. So for example, if you are having, if you want to repeat a loops n number of times, you can use range, and within that you can just mention the number of times that you're using. For example, if you are iterating a list or something, you can make use of that range function, and within the range function, you should mention, you should always mention the number, right? So in case you want to iterate that list, you can call the length function, which will give you the length of the list. Then you can put it inside the range so that you could iterate it. But there is a shorter way that they have iterator for a list has been implemented by default in Python. So you can just call like x in list. So x is the row, an element in list. So if you call like that, the functionality of the range of length of that particular list is taken care automatically. Any more questions, like from beginners? So I think they are a little bit hesitant.
Guys, no question is considered too small or too too elementary. So don't worry about that. If you feel that clarifying that doubt will help you started moving ahead with Python, please ask it.
Yeah, it could be even like how to start with machine learning or something like that. You can ask.
I was just about to ask that question. How do I start on that? Maybe not machine learning is maybe the next step, but how do I start with maybe Python?
Okay, you want to start with Python, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty new to programming itself, and I've just started with Python.
Okay, just take bite-sized concepts basically. So you want to understand. So for example, what is a loop? Just Rathu, obviously you have got the course, right? So in
Yeah.
that, go to that particular part of section. Once you understand, try to do it on your own. So nowadays there are these things like collab. That is, you don't even have to install anything. You can type collab in Google. So in this, create a new notebook and start typing something like you can. Most of the libraries that we use for machine learning or something like that. So it is already pre-installed here. So you can just start importing any package or something like that, and you can use it, right? So in case you want to, you would obviously see code, right, in the whatever the course that you are going through. So you will get the basic code, right? You just do alterations in that. You just make changes with that. For example, if you're going through this range function, and also take care of the Python doc. If you want to understand more aspects of the that particular function, for example, range, we can go through the Python documentation of that. So Python documentation it won't be so user friendly, but it still makes sense even for beginner. If you go through it, there will be an example that is written that could be different from what you're learning of, right? So pick up all those examples and try to write something on your own, right? For example, you can imagine a use case. For example, like I said earlier, like for a cart or something, how would you write your own program? Maybe for totaling. So there'll be n number of items and prices tagged to it, right? How we can handle that? In that case, that is where we use dictionaries, right? You have a key or a value. For example, items tagged with that prices. So you can relatively compare to those real-time instances, how these data structures could be used effectively when it comes to a real-time functionality. If you think like that, it will be easy for you to like imagine or consume that in that with logic. so that you can understand step by step. So for example, loops, where they will be used. So for example, if you're seeing a table online, so there is a list of participants in this Zoom invite. There is a participant list, right? In case someone is getting added, so it is automatically getting populated, right? So you see a n number of lists. This could be 11, this could be 20, 30, or something like that. So this is basically example of a list, and it has been iterated to paste it here, right? So in the background, it can be any programming language. Basically, this is this is possible because of JavaScript. So regardless of the programming language, all the data structures are like, they are generic, they are just concepts, right? So if you take it as a real-time example, and if you do code, if you experiment it on your own hand, then you can multiply your learning curve like 10x or 100x. Like it is based on the effort that you're taking. So rather than just going through the courses, or just reading through the material or the book that you're having, just do it in any coding environment. Now it is too simple that you can go to a collab environment and start typing your code. So that is what I'm suggesting. The main thing is attaching it to a real-time example, then start doing coding on your own. So this is my suggestion for all the beginners, Hitesh.
Thank you. So, do I need to really know any other set of languages to begin with?
So for starting, so it will be extremely easy to start with Python. Python is the easiest language that you can get ahead with, because it's more, the syntax is more kind of English. For example, if you go to C or C++, there will be too much of syntax that you need to learn. So you don't even know why initially. So it will be difficult for you to go through all those things. Like in case of Java, you have to write, import, and even for printing something, you need to import something, right? System.io or something. I don't understand, so I forgot all those things. I started coding when I was in my first year. When I learned Java, it was like terrific for me to learn all those packages, and I have to understand what is a package before even printing something on the in the screen, right? So it will be very the syntax and all, it will be very easy in Python. So my first language that I would have preferred in your case is like Python. So if I was a beginner, I would now then I would use I definitely choose Python because of the syntax elegancy, and it is being used in all the cutting edge fields. Let it be like nowadays, even e-commerce sites are those days gone are those days they use PHP or something like that. Nowadays people are using Python. It has become robust now, so people are using it in industries. Even in my company, we are using Python for whatever the backend that we are trying to create. We use Flask, we use Django. We don't use Django because in my previous organization we use Django, which is more kind of a packaged environment, so which gives us multiple libraries by default. But Flask is like a plain framework that we use. You have basically, what I'm trying to say is, you have everything in Python, so you don't have to go for anything else. In case you want to become a full stack developer, basically means you handle DB, you handle the backend code, you also handle the front end code. Front end in the sense you deal with HTML, CSS, and all this stuff. So being a beginner, you can also start your things in HTML, so which will be visually pleasing for you, right? So visually you could see something like, you can add a table, you can add add an element which is a paragraph, you can add CSS to it and make it look more good. So that is what I'm saying basically. So Python is the best language to start if you're starting your core programming. And if you want to experience something visually appealing and you want to do something quick, you can also look into HTML. So that is not actually a coding language, that's a programming language, but you can still it will be like coding. So that is what I would say. You can make things easy with HTML. and Python is like equally elegant to start with.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Guys, any more questions? So it could be a beginner questions, guys. So there is no more, there is no limitation. Like you can ask about ML, even deep learning, computer vision, or anything like that. So how it is basically, I can give a abstract overview of that, and like we can see. Like
Mohan, actually, there was a question in chat that can you please, Susmit Power asked, can you please give me explanation difference between range and X range?
So X-range is basically, it was used in Python too. So the basically it will return, it's kind of a reference object that you use in X-range basically. So in Python too, it is never being used in current times. So we all use range in Python 3. But in case if you want to understand what is X-range, so that will return a X-range object instead of the list. So in case of this thing, right, in range function, that will actually construct a static list during the current time, during the running time, and it will return a list basically. So within that, the iteration will happen. So whatever the iteration that we are doing in a loop, that will happen. But in case of X-range, that will be a different case. So it will return a it's more kind of for example, in iterator function or generators, we saw about yield, right? So it is about a slow loading, or it is not a overall like complete what do you say, complete list that is actually being returned. It is like a reference which you use to which happens on a lazy loading process. So it's an X-range object that is getting returned. So in case of the difference between X-range and range, and in Python 3, why it was deprecated is like it is too slow. So that is the reason when even I was looking at why X-range was deprecated or something, range is pretty much fast. So due to the list construction and runtime.
Thanks, Mohan. I think Sumit Power, you got your answer. So,
Yeah.
Are there any other questions, guys?
Good evening, sir. I was willing to know that recently IIT Bombay has organized the annual convocation ceremony in virtual reality mode, where they have also like provided medalists with a personalized avatar, like medals were given to them through their personalized avatars. Can you tell more about this thing, that how to get into more such projects and things?
More which kind of projects that you're asking? So sorry,
On the projects of virtual reality mode.
okay, you're asking about VR projects in the sense. So it happens. It is actually VR is just being explored right now. So it is kind of so basically in India, there are very less companies who are into VR. And if you know, do you know Blender?
Augmented reality kind of.
3D modeling or something like that, right?
I thought augmented reality VAR is a.
She was talking about virtual reality. It's VR, I think.
Oh, VR. Okay.
Yeah, so basically how to get into it is basically you should understand a lot of even from 3D modeling. Programming is like a part of site. So you have different set of libraries even in JavaScript. So for example, in LensCart and all, they use it, right? So they use this thing uh, when you visit a lens or some, when you want to try a lens or something, they just create an environment with your photo or something like that, and they show how it looks or something like that. So this is how it is being done, and it is being explored in gaming and all. For example, if you hold that VR glass, it will feel like you are inside, right? So it is more of gaming. So it is being explored more on the gaming side and very less explored on right. So even for flight simulators and all, they use a lot of virtual reality. So for that, you should do the touch basing on graphics and game theories. So there are there are a lot of resources around game theory. So you should try to understand that. So 3D modeling and game theory, then a little bit of game programming. So that will help you out. And there are a lot of libraries. Let it be any programming language. There are some libraries. Those things are not mature now, but still in the future it will get matured, and you can for starting it will be more than enough.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
And Nyanamuli actually asked in the chat that what is dynamically typed language?
Okay, so dynamically is there is no strict type checking when you do compilation. So when in compiled languages like Java and all, you should declare it before, right? In C or C++. So you should type something like that, a string, char, or int, or something like that. So in Python and all, there is no strict type checking, right? So that and it will be checked only when it is executing. So rather than compiling or something, we don't have that kind of a process because this is an interpreted language. So there is you don't have to declare anything. So that is called there's no type checking. Sorry, type checking, and it is dynamically typed because when the interpreter is interpreting on that particular line, only at that time it will be revealed whether this function is being able to perform this concatenation. For example, if you are writing a string and if you are trying to concatenate an integer with that string and show it to the user. For example, within the print function, you have there are 5 items in your cart. If you're trying to push it to the user, and 5 is an integer variable and everything else is string, and if you're trying to concatenate it, in case if you're trying to do it in other languages, when you're doing compilation or when you're even before running all the code, for example, whatever the lines that you the code lines that you have written before to that particular line, straight away it will throw you an error because you are trying to concatenate 2 different types, right? So that would be that won't be the case when you do it in Python. So in Python, all the previous lines will get executed, and at that the point of time where this current line where you combine different types which can't go together are being used, at that point of time the error will be thrown. So typed language. So basically the type checking won't happen, or it won't occur before execution of the previous lines.
Thanks, Mohan. I think
I
that
hope you
answers.
understood. If you're not understanding something, you can, yeah.
Is there any other question, guys? So Nanamudi has asked another question.
So namespaces are common. It's not. Yeah.
What are Python namespace?
Yeah. So namespaces are common. So namespaces are common in all other languages. So it's not just that you have namespace and just Python. So namespaces are basically you name or something like that, right? Sometimes you feel like add to cart could be in two of your application, but you want to bundle them together. But they are logically two different things, right? You want the same name, but you want to distinguish them logically in your code. So that is when namespaces are used. For example, while using in C++ or something like that, you will use using namespaces, or C# or some languages you will use using namespaces, std or something like that. So that is basically the standard that you use to write different have that kind of separation between namespaces. You can declare two different namespaces and you can use the same function name it. So that is logically the namespaces. You can declare two different namespaces to a class, a function name, or something like that.
Yeah, thanks, Mohan. I think that answers your questions, Nanamudi.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions you want to ask, Mr. Mohan? Anybody?
Mohan, if there are no questions, actually you can walk through the code for next 20 to 30 minutes. I think that
So
would
I
be.
actually, yeah.
Sorry.
So actually, what I was thinking is, I can, yeah. So what I was planning is, I can create a to-do app and show them. So basically,
Oh,
actually, the time has got like so much reduced. But
okay.
yeah, so I have a collab environment. Maybe we can try something like with pandas and something.
Or maybe if there is
Okay.
a okay, considering the time, right? So I mean, if you have already a code base which you want to walk through, also that's fine, Mohan. It's up to you. I'll leave it up to you, and up to the participants. Like if they are engaged with that and they are happy with that, then you can take it forward.
Yeah, yeah, fine. So it's so how do you want to proceed, guys? Do you want me to like how can we spend this time? Like, I mean, whether I should give an introduction to what are variables, and I should start with that and do coding at the same time to explain. So I am having an idea in mind, maybe a to-do list. So I'll start with that and I'll try to uh, plan accordingly, right? If you want me to explain so how the basic stuffs are being built, and I'll show a demo as well, demo code as well.
Yeah, you can walk through the code if you already have.
I have code, but I just want to get the pulse of people, Shashank. I mean, beginners. So if I am showing up Flask app code directly with MongoDB and everything, so it will be too difficult for them to understand.
Okay, sure.
Okay, let me So for example, in Python, we can start with, so I have the pandas. I was talking about pandas, right? So I have the pandas library installed. So I'll give you a small glimpse of what is pandas. So pandas is, so you can visualize this basically. So this is kind of a table environment. Data structure. In case you can you think of a list or something, those are like single dimensional, right? So you save arrays sequentially. You save elements sequentially. But consider a matrix or something like that. You want to store a table information. For example, you have items and prices. So they are mapped together, and you can keep all the items in a single table. So this is how it is kept in relational databases. If you want to do or perform some operations at the real time, so we can use data frames. So if you want to check what are all the items that are more than 500 rupees or more than 1000 rupees, you can do that simply with this pandas basically. So you don't have to write an SQL query or paste into DB. After receiving that in your current memory, computer memory, you can do that. So that is the power of pandas. So this is a library to handle things like most smooth. You can reshape it. You can do a lot of custom function. If you want to add a custom sort or some other functions, you can also do that when handling this kind of data frames. So that is advanced. That is the advantage of using pandas basically. So I'll try to give one more use case based on that. So it's a norm that we use. Okay, I'll just show you the code. So I think I'm not sharing the screen. I'm sorry. So you're able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are going to see what is pandas. I'm just importing pandas as PD. PD is a shorter name, so it's kind of an alliance name that you give. So I'm just keeping PD as a this thing alias, right? So then we all know how dictionaries work, right? So they have a braces and they have key value pairs, right? For example, in this case, we'll see like item and you'll see the price of it, maybe like 500 or something like that. So this is the structure of the dictionary. So in this case, we are talking about to do, right? So how a to do will be. So we'll create a to do list first. So we are creating an empty list as of now. And we have to create a structure basically. Structure in the sense what are all the elements that are going to be present in to do, right? In a to do row. For example, to do is if you want to do something and you want to get reminded later, or you want to keep a note of it, you can just actually use it, and you can also maintain the status of it, whether you have completed or not, right? So let's have a to do variable in which is basically a dictionary, which is going to have what is the task that you're going to do, and we are going to have a value for that. So I'm basically naming it as nothing, but you can keep it as a first task or something like that, right? Then you can have another element. So basically you want to understand what are all the tasks that I have done, and what are the tasks that I am yet to complete, right? So for that purpose, we can have another key, status of that particular task, whether it is completed or not, and we can call it like zero. We can keep status as 0 or 1. In case it's 0, it's not completed. In case it's 1, it's completed. So I'm keeping it as such. So basically, we are going to explore what all within this to-do list, right? So we'll add this to-do into to-do list. So the syntax for that is, so you have a list structure. If you want to add something to it, you can add, right? So basically, for adding, you have a function called append in Python. within that we can use this. We can add this to object so that it gets added into that. It get added into the list. Now, if you can print the length of the list, see. So basically, I'll try to copy this into a collab environment so that you can easily see step-by-step outputs. So I kept pandas installed, and you have a to-do list there. So basically, I paste it. And right. So after adding, I'm just trying to execute the to-do and to-do list. Just give it some time. It's actually initializing. Okay. So now we have a list and we have a to-do. We are trying to add to it. So if you want to print that, you can actually visualize what is within that list. So you have a task name, you have a status. So this is an array. Within that, you just keep the task, right? So then we can add more to-do, right? So we will write a function for adding to-dos. Add to-do. So we are declaring function, and we need a dictionary within that, right? We need to create a to-do object with this which is kind of having the structure of task name and statuses. You can also get it as a parameter for a function, right? So we are having it as a parameter, and we are going to have another parameter called status, and to create that to-do structure. So what we'll do is basically we'll have the same task name as the key, and we'll have this thing. Whatever the task name that we are getting, we are just assigning it to this variable, and we have whatever the status that we are receiving, we'll have it here. And after getting and setting the parameters to the to structure, we are going to append to the same to-do list. Dot append to-do. Actually, we declared a function here. So let's see what. So it's still the same, right? Because we didn't do any. We didn't call this function. We didn't add anything to the list, right? So that's why we are having this kind of function. This kind of same state where we left before. We didn't. So once you declare a function, you also need to call it with the necessary parameters so that it will be executed. So basically, what I'm trying to say is the function doesn't get initiated by default unless you call it, right? So we'll call add to do, and within that we'll pass the task name. Okay, so we can attend the webinar. So this is a to-do task that we are having, and we didn't complete it, right? So we'll add this kind of we'll use it. We'll call the function with the parameters, and let's see whether let's see the status of the to-do list now. So basically, I don't have to type it again. So basically, I'll just try to execute it. So now we have two tasks, right? So you have another task, attend the webinar, and these things are getting added to it. So this is so basically a to-do app that we built, but without Flask or something like that, two heavy components. So basically, how they do it in real time, we can also. So I'll also give you an exercise to execute. So what that would be is write a cart list and add the item price and the item name to the list, and write a function add to cart, and do the same. You can make use of the same syntax, and you can follow that, and you can also do delete, right? So you can also drop off some columns and drop off some things. So basically, why this pandas? Why did I use pandas? Is so you can also you can keep status. So let me add another to do object. The task name is like let it be anything. Example, course. Uh, Complete the course today or something like that. It's a task name that I am having, and the status I am keeping it as one message. So I am adding it to the to-do list. So if I see what is in the to-do list, I have 3 tasks. So what if I want to check only the completed tasks, or only the incomplete tasks. So for that purpose, we can make use of pandas, right? So there's a shorter term, like for whatever the data frame is. So you can call it anything. This is just a variable name again. So what are to do list? Sorry, to do. I have the to do frame equal to. So I call pandas as PD as mentioned in the alias. So the object that we use in this list, we can just create a data frame out of it. PD is not defined. Okay, I just installed pandas here. I'll just add a code block. Just move it up. So I'm just trying to import pandas as PD. So now let's add make it a data frame. Now to do is a frame. You didn't do anything complex, right? You are having a dictionary which are getting added to a list. Then you are just making the list. Now the list may look a little bit complex because you add multiple things into it. That is a list, but within that you are having dictionaries. We can basically convert these type of complex data structures into a frame. So let's see how it looks inside as a data frame. So you have this nice table, right? So mentioning the number, and the column name is a task name, and you mention the status, right? So in case if you want to fetch only the results which are only the tasks which are completed, you can just say completed tasks equal to. Okay, basically this is, so we have to use it as a column name, right? So I just forgot to make it as such. So you are checking whether this column is 1 or not in this particular condition, and whatever the values which satisfy this condition will fall into this data frame, and you will get it in completed tasks. Right now we have completed tasks. Let's visualize it. So you have only this task which is completed, right? You can all incomplete tasks. So this is basically this basically covers all the applications of pandas, and also this will be very useful when you do machine learning. And so this is how easy you can do it in case of doing a dictionary, and if you're iterating with the for loop, row by row, dict by dict, and then checking for statuses, then appending it to a global list and showing that list. So there will be this will be very simple to use, and it is practically very easy. So that is what I'm saying. So you just saw how easy it was to create a to-do application. Like you can also drop columns, and you can also see this. I'll share you this pandas data this I mean cheat sheet. So this will have all the commands like sorting, dropping, and all those stuff in a single sheet, right? So it's just 2 pages. You can go through it and you can immediately start doing all those kind of functionalities. Guys, you're able to get something with this, like you're able to see, like yeah, I'll share it. I'll share it. It is the official uh, cheat sheet from the Pandas group. I'll share you that. Shared it. So you can, if in case if you want to build a complete to-do application, you just visit. You have to use Flask, and whatever the data that you need to handle, you can use data frame for that. And with data frame, you can also fetch the data from the DB, and you can also persist the same way back to DB, and handle all the things very easily, like tasks or statuses or something like that. So that could be handled very easily. Yeah, that's it, guys. If you want to ask any questions with respect to this, you can ask me. Are you having any doubts, or maybe in syntax or something like that? You can ask me out. Or like, how do you feel, like whether pandas will be like easy to learn and work on that? Like you have programming experience and all those stuff, right? Shashank.
Yeah, it's like easy only. I mean, we'll have to get used to that.
Yeah. So rather than using different sets of iterations or for loops, we can all, reduce all those stuff, and it is benchmarked with the benchmarks. It has been proven that pandas is much more faster than for loops,
Yeah.
and you can add multiple conditions within that, and so you can compare multiple columns and select very few rows. So you can do all those sorts of things.
The data manipulation becomes easier. Lot many functions are also there in pandas, like sort,
Yeah.
drop, or slicing. So do we use pandas only in this machine learning, or in normal Python, building Python applications also we use?
Yeah, we use Python, but not that much, because we so the programming language is Python, but we after importing the data, we don't have anything to do with Python, right? Python in the sense, so we don't actually go into the for loops much. Like in case you want to do some data processing, you can do, but apart from that, it's like more kind of you use pandas or numpy or tensorflow or keras, whatever the libraries that provide the functionality to do like data manipulation, maybe like feature engineering, plotting plots and all those stuff. So training and all those are supported by libraries, right? But basically all of them take data frame as the input. So having data frame as an input actually reduces like 90% of your work, rather than doing just whatever you do with collections or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So any other guys, do you have any doubt? Hitesh, Jnanamuri, Pragya, since using Python, what would be the company be expecting from me? What all they mainly expect to me to know? So basically, data science using Python, in the sense you should start with Python and get a better understanding of, if I am giving you a problem or like maybe a sorting problem or something like that. So you should be able to do it. So you can learn that like very easily, and after that, so get strong on looping and all those stuff. So that is the core part of it. And some companies expect object oriented programming like classes and all those stuff. And so after understanding that, you can straightly jump into NumPy and Pandas, so uh, which are the core part of data science. So that is how data is being handled in machine learning. If you know how to use pandas, that will be 50% of your path has been completed. Then understanding different sets of algorithms like decision trees, SVM, linear regression, classification algorithms. And after knowing that, so basically it's like concepts. You don't have to get too much into math. Like a lot of companies are not expecting that, but a few companies do so. But a lot of companies are just expecting you to have a theoretical understanding of how an algorithm works and the applications of it, where and how you use a particular algorithm over the other, right? So that's how you can go. Like you should start with Python. You should go to till the advanced concepts. Then you jump into pandas and Python. Understand the data structure that is being used for machine learning. Then you go about the algorithms and actually train and test with multiple. You have nowadays you have Kaggle, right? They have the competitions and all those stuff. So you can pick some basic problems from them, and you will also get the data sets. From there you can fetch the data sets and use it to predict something and check the accuracy. There is a leaderboard, you can check the ranking and everything. So from that you could like start your this thing. So if you have done Kaggle competitions and you have a that stands out, like you have competed in these kind of Kaggle competitions, and these kind of you have created these kind of applications. If you have those things in your GitHub profile, that will be more than enough for any companies to choose a fresher. So even before going to Kaggle competition, it is advised to have a good GitHub portfolio, so that you have some classification problems done there. Then it will be easy for you to get started as a data scientist, Pragya. Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Arun, I think there are no questions coming in. I think we can. Okay, something more about me. So, I basically, so I started my career as a Java developer, basically. So in 2012, so I was not, sorry, 2016, 2012 is when I started my BE in computer science. So on those days, I was good with programming languages, but not into data science. So I joined a startup like. So I had like around a lot of backlogs. So I'm not. I'm more of a practical guy. I don't listen to something that is not attached to practical sense. That makes sense. That doesn't make sense to me. So I had a lot of backlogs. So that so I could not go through placements, but I got an opportunity with a startup even before I complete my college. So in my final year, in my seventh sem, I got a job. So when they were attending, when my colleagues were attending some placements, I was already, I had a job and I was going, doing all sorts of work. Like I started working as a Java developer. I used to build use user interfaces with Angular, and I was working as a Java developer. Then I got somehow interested in this based on basically what Tesla cars and stuff. So I was pretty much interested in computer vision basically. So I wanted to start with deep learning, but it was difficult for me. So I could not understand something that is relevant to deep learning. I have a good programming knowledge, but I don't have that much of knowledge into stats and all those stuff. So I couldn't go directly to deep learning. So I started with learning. So I already knew Python when I was in my college. So I already started what is pandas, NumPy. This is where I started. Then I started to learn those things. Then I went up. I went into machine learning. I explored the package scikit-learn, and I learned it very well before moving into data science. After a year of practice, I got an opportunity as a data scientist. So now I am working for developing chatbots and computer vision applications like image classification, object detection, and all those sorts of things that I am currently working with. That's it about myself, Pragya.
Okay. Yeah, are we done, Mohan? So any other doubts, questions people have?
No, I think, yeah. Yeah, well.
Okay. Guys, we have reached the end of the time. So we have planned it for initially for 1 hour and we extended for 1.5 hours session. So I think it was useful for you guys. How did you guys felt?
Yeah, it was a nice learning session. Like, got to know about a lot.
Good stuff, good stuff.
The doubts were being cleared. So thanks, Mohan and Bala, for organizing this session.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for being a good, great audience. And thank you, Arun and Bala sir, for hosting this.
Sure. Guys, we will be like continuing these kind of sessions every week. Okay. And it's not going to be in the same topic. So we're going to actually have different topics based upon how you are actually learning, right? For example, if you are subscribed for the premium courses, right? So for the people who have actually the most number of courses enrolled where people are actually going through that, right? So we pick that and then we actually post the sessions accordingly. So every one of you will have a fair chance of clarifying your doubts in the topics that you wanted to clear. Okay. And for people who are subscribed for the the AI combo pack, right? So accordingly, you will be actually the sessions will be planned for you guys as well. Okay. So these are actually some of the value additions that we actually bring into the system as part of our paid learners, right? So this was not initially part of the offering, but we felt these sessions will add a lot more value to the learners, and that is why we actually bring in the experts so that your doubts could be cleared as you learn. Okay, so the only thing that you need to do is make the better use of the courses that you have enrolled for. Okay, so make sure you spend like 15 to 20 minutes at least daily, so that you could actually go to the content and go through what's happening, what is the technology that you would like to learn, and have a clear learning path saying this is where I wanted to be after 3 months or after 6 months, right? And make sure that you are progressing towards that. So only then we will be able to understand how you are actually progressing, so that we could actually arrange sessions accordingly with more technologists where you can actually interact and take it forward. Okay. Fine, guys. So we'll be sharing this session also there as the recorded one. Feel free to look into that whenever you wanted to revise or look back, so that you can understand the topics, and looking forward for the next future sessions.